Welcome everyone to Spotlight on Sunflower Oil. My name is Chris Gould and I work with the National Sunflower Association on the marketing of USA sunflower oil in Canada. This association is a grower and industry organization based in North Dakota and focused on research and education. Before we get started, I'd like to let you know that we are recording this event and it will be sent to you as a downloadable item following today's presentation. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them into the chat. You can see the chat button on the bottom of your screen. And at the end of the presentation, we'll be happy to answer your questions. This past year, we have had a lot of disruption in the supply channel, in the grocery stores, a lot going on. In terms of the edible oil chain supply, it's really affected the entire world. However, thanks to the growers and the refineries in the USA, sunflower oil has continued to arrive in Canada on a regular basis. In fact, more and more food manufacturers have switched to USA sunflower oil, and Canada continues to be the #1 export market for USA sunflower oil. Today, we're going to focus our discussion on the importance of innovating food products and menus for today's trends. Canadians are much more proactive about choosing food and beverage products that promote their own personal health and welfare. Many Canadians are eating more plant-based foods, and they are looking for healthier bakery items, snack items, sauces, and all kinds of prepared foods. They want clean labels, they want healthier menu items, and they are also very interested in sustainable ingredients. Research indicates that 81% of Canadians believe that sunflower oil is a healthy oil, and 75% of Canadians are currently interested in purchasing food and beverage products that are made with sunflower oil. With this in mind, I'd like to introduce our panel who will share some of their company innovations and some of the success stories and comment on how sunflower oil benefits their products. As well, we will learn more about the sunflower crop and the outlook for sunflower oil production in 2023. Today, I'm joined by John Sandbakken, the Executive Director of the National Sunflower Association, Jasmine Byrne, President of Big Mountain Foods, Aneta Dymerska, Vice President R&D and Q&A at Ozery Family Bakery, and Rakesh Raniga, President and CEO at Indian Life Foods. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Now, before we get started with our food manufacturer discussion, I'm going to start with John, and we're going to talk a little bit about this year's sunflower crop. John, since you work so closely with the sunflower growers, how does this year's crop compare to the previous years?
Well, thank you, Chris. You know, that's a very good question, and I'm happy to report to all of our participants today on our Zoom meeting here that planted acreage of Middle Lake and Ohio Lake, as well as organic sun oil, have increased from 1.2 to 1.6 million acres this year. We had a large acreage increase in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota, which are the main growing areas.
Many Canadians are actively seeking out ingredients and food products that are sustainable, John, and they're really hoping that they're going to be that sunflowers are going to be helpful in that case. So Can you tell us a little bit about how sunflowers help reduce the impact on the environment?
Sure, sure. Sunflowers enrich and rejuvenate the soil. They have deep tap roots that help break up layers of the soil and help make sunflowers more drought resistant. They need a lot less water than many other crops, and growers use a no-till technique to grow sunflower. And what this process does is it decreases soil erosion, and as a result, moisture is retained in the soil, and no-till management of sunflower crops also help reduce the greenhouse gas emissions.
Wow, that's really interesting. Sunflowers really do help our environment. Another question that I've been thinking about is how does the crush work? And how do the refineries determine how much sunflower oil to crush and how much sunflower oil to ship to Canada?
Well, Chris, that really comes down to economics, and the supply and demand drive how much seed is crushed each year. Sunflower growers can sell their seed to oilseed crushers, to hulling seed market, into the bird food market. Crushers also have to compete for seed for these other market options. So as a buyer, to ensure that you have the oil you need throughout the year, you need to stay in touch with your suppliers and commit to purchases as early as possible. And that in turn allows the supplier to offer a competitive price to growers and will persuade them to plant sunflower, and thus ensuring that supply of seed delivered to the crush plant throughout the year to meet the needs that you have.
Okay, that's good advice. Thank you, John. Um, we're going to come back to John later on in the presentation, but now that we have some information on the sunflower crop, I'd like to turn our attention to our three food manufacturing experts on how sunflower oil is used in their products. We're going to start with Jasmine. So, Jasmine, your company, Big Mountain Foods, is a family-owned business that has been manufacturing food products for more than 40 years. Your plant-based vegan products are so delicious. I've had a chance to try them, and they are enjoyed by many Canadians. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your latest product innovations and what you and your family consider when you're creating these products?
Thank you, Chris, for having us. It's awesome to be on this presentation today. So Big Mountain Foods has been around for quite some time, but over the past 8 years or so, we've really scaled the business just because plant-based has become very popular. Companies like Beyond Meat really set the stage for companies like ours to start growing and expand. Unlike companies like Beyond Meat, we really focus on true minimally processed natural ingredients when we make our products, and we're not trying to simulate meat. So our latest innovation is actually really exciting. We've commissioned the first soy-free tofu factory in the world, and we're using Canadian fava beans. So with the new plant that we've commissioned, we're now adding our tofu back into our core product line because it gives a really high protein and good nutritious content. But in order to bind these products and give it a good mouthfeel, we definitely rely on oil. And so sunflower oil has been our choice for actually over 5 years now, since we switched from canola oil. So it's been great for us.
Great. So, Jasmine, does non-GMO play a factor in any? I don't know if your customers are interested in that. I know you mentioned mouthfeel and stability, but yeah, tell us, what do you think about non-GMO?
Yes, Project Non-GMO, especially as we are branching our product line into the US and retailers like Whole Foods. It's extremely important. We actually won't even get the listing unless we're Project Non-GMO approved. So when we started down the journey of becoming non-GMO certified, which was about 5 years ago, we had a very hard time with finding a supplier of canola oil that was non-GMO certified. So we made the switch to sunflower. And that was actually one of the main reasons why we made the switch, because the sunflower oil that we use was already certified by the same certification body, and it was easy to make that switch.
Great, great. And this new innovation that you mentioned, the soy-free tofu with the Canadian fava beans, when are we likely to see that in the marketplace?
It is launching now. We're working really
okay.
hard. Our sales team, we've managed to secure a few Canadian retailers, as well as some US chains as well, like Wegmans, Earth's Fare, Risers. So we're getting some traction.
Great. Okay, well, we're going to come back to you later. We're going to talk a little bit with Rakesh now. And Rakesh, your company, Indian Life Foods, has been a longtime customer of sunflower oil, using it originally in some of your your delicious Indian sauces, and more recently in your naans and wraps. Can you tell us a little bit about your company's products and what you consider when you're creating new products for your customers?
Thank you for having me here, Chris and John. Glad to be here. We are a family business, and we started using canola years ago. And then when the non-GMO project came up, Whole Foods required products to be non-GMO verified. And so the option we had was to switch to sunflower oil. And we did that years ago, probably like 8, 9, maybe 10 years ago. And it was a challenge, but we jumped that hurdle. And so we're all about non-GMO, clean ingredients in our products, healthier lifestyle. Sunflower oil obviously gives us that with low polyunsaturated acids and monosaturated acids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's good for the heart, and it's endorsed by American Heart Association. And so we started using sunflower, and it helps with the taste of the product. It doesn't overpower the taste of our spices and other ingredients. So it makes it very, the mouthfeel is good.
Good.
And also shelf life for our products.
Oh, okay.
It helps with that.
Yeah. And tell us about, like, I recently saw some snack chips that you had, masala and other things, like you've moved away a little bit from the sauces. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about your chips, your naans and your chips and your wraps. What are those products?
Yes, so the chips have been very popular because, it's an alternative to potato chips and nachos, which everybody's so familiar with. And again, when I was doing those R&Ds with the chips, we use different types of flours, like organic flours, sprouted flours, and we ran into issues. And so we had no choice but to find a non-GMO flour and also pair it up with sunflower oil, which gives a very nice taste to the product and gives a great shelf life.
Yeah, I think that's really a big difference between some other oils, is the shelf life that sunflower oil provides. And I think it's great that you've introduced some chips and snacks, because we know that the snacking snacking market continues to grow.
Exactly. And then the other thing is, with the wraps and the naans, which we use our sunflower oil, compared to a lot of products which are sold in the market, they're using palm oil, and that's not good for the environment. So we made the choice of using sunflower instead.
Great. Great. Okay. Well, we're going to come back to you, Rakesh, and we're going to talk a little bit now to Aneta, who is working at the Ozery Family Bakery, another longtime sunflower oil customer. And this bakery creates really delicious sandwich buns rounds, lavish, and most recently have introduced Seedwise, a keto-friendly, grain-free snack clusters. Aneta, tell us a little bit about your company's philosophy and the products that you're creating for your customers.
Thank you, Chris and John, for having me here today. I'm very excited to be part of this panel and always excited to use sunflower oil for its many benefits. But our philosophy is very simple. Make good food that is healthy, tasty, while doing good for the environment and our communities. So that's why we actually became a B Corp certified company to be a business as a force for good. We are completely non-GMO project verified, so all of our SKUs do follow that. We use real ingredients and are completely plant-based. Recently, like you mentioned, Chris, we launched a new brand that's Seedwise to showcase the power of seeds. Our first lineup is the clusters, and our second are granolas. Both are plant-based, low sugar, free of the top 8 allergens, grain-free, certified non-GMO, certified keto, gluten-free, and peanut-free, yet they definitely still taste delicious and are craveable. So that's kind of our big focus now is Seedwise and everything to do with the power of seeds and what we can turn seeds into.
Right. Yeah, they are delicious, Aneta, because
and our number one seed is sunflower seeds.
Yeah, when I saw those, these claims initially, I thought, oh, but does it taste good? And yeah, recently I've been able to try it, and it's a delicious product. And so your company, are you also selling this product in the U.S. or, and what about your baked goods? Are they also available in the U.S.?
Yes, exactly. So we're all of the Seedwise and the Ozery products are both available in Canada and the US. More probably, it's been a little bit easier to launch all the Seedwise products in Canada, but we're slowly getting traction in the US as well.
Yeah, Canadians. Aneta, just one more quick question. So the sunflower oil, the reason you're using it in your breads, your bakery products, the actual rounds, is it a different reason than why you're using it in the Seedwise crunch snacks?
It's a great question. So we really like sunflower oil for a number of reasons, but really, firstly, it's very highly accepted by our consumers. Again, our consumers are looking for something healthy but tasty. We do use 2 different types of sunflower oils, so I think that's pretty important. So one is the high oleic sunflower oil, which we use in our crackers for its oxidative stability to provide the shelf life that we need. I believe Rakesh also touched upon that. And then we use mid oleic sunflower oil in our buns, pitas, and snacks because of its neutral taste and high heat point. Our ovens go up to 700 degrees Celsius. So you can imagine we really need that stability for all of our products.
Right. I'm going to ask John to make a comment. I'm glad you raised the high oleic and the mid oleic. John, can you make a comment about like the farmers and what they're growing and what we're going to see next year in terms of the split, between high and mid oleic?
That's something, Chris, that can vary, from year to year, but normally it's been right around 60% of the acres are high oleic sunflower and about 40% are the new sun variety or the mid oleic varieties. That's probably a good ballpark estimate.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll keep our eyes open for that for next, but that's kind of the way it's looking for this year as well, right at the moment. Yeah.
Right. I would say so. Yes.
Good. Okay. No, thanks for raising that, Aneta, because some of the attendees may be using high oleic, some may be using mid oleic, and just good to know that there's going to be a steady supply of both types of oils. I did want to ask all our 3 experts if they've if they've been hearing more from their customers about sustainability and, people asking, are you using sustainable ingredients? Do you have, you do have a clean label, but is the term sustainability, are you hearing it more than you heard before? Maybe we'll start with Jasmine. Jasmine, are you hearing more about that?
Yes, every day. When we actually started building out our plant, that was our number one focus on how we would reduce the waste in our factory. And for tofu, okara is a big one. So you have a lot of byproduct. So we've actually been able to repurpose that okara that actually has quite a bit of nutrients, like it has some protein, it's a functional starch, incorporate it back into our products. But it's quite doughy. So something like sunflower really helps it become a better binder and easier to use through our machines. But sustainability is everything right now. That's one thing that can set you apart from your competition, is to have a really good sustainability story and know where your ingredients are coming from.
That your story right there is really interesting about the tofu because I didn't realize that. Rakesh, have you been hearing more from your customers about the word sustainability or anything along that line?
Yes, Chris, you hear that all the time these days.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, sustainability.
Yeah.
And, we, Indian Life, we've been a sustainable company right from the beginning. Before this plant-based craze took off,
Right.
we're a vegan, vegetarian company. 90% of our products are vegan.
Yeah.
And so with that, we're not using so much of water to process our products, very,
Right.
very little water,
Right.
and also using good ingredients, healthier.
Mhm.
It's like what I'd feed my children. That's what I'd like to feed the rest of the population, and doing good for the environment,
Yes, that's great. That's great. And Aneta, uh, have you heard the word sustainable a lot from your customers? What's going on there?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a pillar of B Corp, so we're
Yeah.
on it every day. Like Jasmine mentioned, it's like, you wear a different hat. You have your product development hat, but you have your, keep your eyes out on how you can make changes and make things better. So one thing for us in terms of seed wise, and we have it right on the back of the pack, and I didn't want to get it wrong, so that's why I grabbed the pack from the back. But it's growing seeds requires 20 to 90% less water than tree nuts, and so
Okay.
that's another reason we chose to have all our products based on seeds.
Great. Great. Yeah, it's interesting. I know there was a lot. I was hearing a lot about sustainability, and then of course, lately we've been hearing a lot about inflation. But I still think consumers are really, really much more concerned about healthy products, healthy ingredients, and they are going to really try to buy products like yours that have good, clean, healthy ingredients and are concerned about the environment. I had one more question for our panelists about food service and the food service industry. And because we have some attendees today who are part of the food service industry, I'm wondering if you sell some of your products to the food service industry, and if you're seeing, if you are selling to the food service industry, what you're seeing or what you're hearing from people on the food service side. How are things looking? Are they excited about your new developments? Any insights? Jasmine, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. Ironically, I got an interesting phone call with our big sports arena here in Vancouver, Rogers Arena.
Right.
They approached us to list our Collie Crumble in the arena and all the suites as the vegan option. So that was really exciting because that'll be our first big food service account. But I asked him why that product out of all of our products, and he really liked that it was easy to prepare, already pre-cooked, has that good mouthfeel, and good for everyone. Like if they're serving it in a taco bar, so anyone that even if they eat meat, they're not going to miss it. It's just all about flavor and texture. Right. So chefs are definitely looking for convenience, easy to prepare and reheat and serve. I'm finding.
Yeah, good. Very exciting. Yeah, the cauliflower crumble, delicious. And you know what? A little bit unique. Like there isn't really anything like that. Maybe there is in the US, but I haven't seen it lately here in Canada. So Rakesh, is your company involved in food service at all? And maybe you can comment about what you're seeing with your products.
Well, food service, we've been doing that for some time, and it seems like people love what we make, like our samosas, our pakoras,
Mm,
they are appetizers, and they actually become a full meal as well, the samosas. Also, our wraps, a lot of the stores are using our wraps in the delis, and they're creating their own fillings with them.
right.
Wraps have really done well, and also the sauces, we've got a chain in Washington State called Metropolitan Markets.
Mhm.
They are using that in the hot counter. They don't
Great.
have the chefs to create those sauces, Indian sauces, so they're using our butter masala and our tikka masala sauces and curry to create the food service hot buffets.
Beautiful. Wow. That sounds, John's going to be ready for lunch soon.
Great.
um, let's go to Aneta. Aneta, what's happening on the food service front at your company?
Yes, so we've been in food service for quite some time. Where we do have our buns and crackers at Starbucks, and we have our crackers on Air Canada, as some of you may have
Mhm.
seen. So I think for us, a lot of the drive is, again, a tasty, healthy, but now very much so allergen free. We are getting a lot more requests around the allergen piece of it. So I think just the safety piece as well. So food service
Mhm.
restaurants or applications are really having to worry less. Instead of having one less item they can serve their customers, it's very easy to serve our products because they're allergen free, so most people
Yeah.
can eat them
Yeah.
and enjoy them.
Yeah, that is a very good point, especially like you mentioned on airlines. It's yes, I've had your lavish on Air Canada, and yeah, I think it's a bit like they don't want to serve nuts. They don't want to have anything that may, irritate any of their customers. So that's a good opportunity for your company. Well, thank you, experts, all of you three. We're going to turn back to John, and we're going to talk a little bit now about the outlook for sunflower oil in 2023. So, John, tell us how the harvest is going and how the farmers are doing out in the fields and what's happening these days.
Well, Chris, what a difference a year makes. Last year, we were experiencing extreme drought conditions in the sunflower growing region throughout the U.S. And thank God that turned around. We got some really good moisture this spring. And harvest is really moving on very nicely. In fact, we're ahead of about the 5-year average pace right now. And the Department of Agriculture, USDA, when they released their first estimate of the sunflower crop for this year, they came out with an estimate of about 2.9 billion pounds, which is up 53% from last year when we had 1.9 billion pounds. So a significant increase. We had an increase in acres. We're up 31% from last year. Harvested acres are also going to be up 31% this year is what they estimate. And our yield, we're going to have like the second highest yield on record at a little over almost 1,800 pounds per acre. This is up 250 pounds an acre higher than last year. So based on this, production increases, we should see a significant increase in the amount of oil that's going to be produced this marketing year.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic, John. I think people will be very excited to hear that there's going to be more oil available. And I'm wondering if there's anything else that you've heard from the oil seed crushers. Are they like, how does it work with them? They're assessing things, and then when will we get another update? Like, will there be more news at the end of this year, or are we likely to hear something in January? And what do you recommend to the people on this call about getting their orders in? Like,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
The next estimate that the Department of Agriculture will put out on the U.S. crop will be in January. It's right around after the new year.
Mhm.
And so that'll kind of give us the final production numbers for 2022, how many acres are harvested, the yield, things like that. But, honestly, the crushers, they're already out there. They're already contracting 23 acres.
Okay.
They're really had, no estimates are out yet, but from what I've heard from talking to them and from talking to growers, I would not be surprised if we're going to see a 10 to 15% increase on the acreage we had this year. Sunflowers have done very well this year throughout all the growing regions, and the return was good for growers. And so it just highlights the fact to increase your acres for next year. And like I mentioned earlier, the one thing you can do as a buyer to ensure that oil you have throughout the year, talk to your suppliers, let them know what your needs are going to be.
Mhm.
Stay in touch, try to commit as early as possible, because what we're doing right now is we're contracting acres that will be delivered in fall of 2023. And you want to keep that supply being consistent and fulfill your pipeline whenever you need it. So stay in touch and make sure you commit as early as possible.
Great. That's very helpful, John. Really, really good advice for the people who are attending this event. Well, I think we're going to take some questions now because we've got a few questions that have come in, and I'm going to start with, we actually have one for Jasmine. And Jasmine, if you can share this with the group, people are very interested in your new fava bean tofu. And they're asking where they can buy it in Western Canada. And also, can you comment if it's available in Eastern Canada?
So we are officially listed in the West with Save On Foods, Choices, Nature's Fair. Those are the big ones here in the West. And then on the East, we have Whole Foods, Longo's, Ambrosia, Goodness Me. So it's
Okay.
popping up. You'll find it next to tofu.
Okay. That's a good point too.
Soy
Where-
tofu anyway.
Yeah, where it is in the store. That's good to know. That's good to know. And I'm going to ask our panelists this. I don't know whether you can comment because you may not use this, but someone is asking, how would we compare avocado oil in respect to flavor neutrality? So sunflower oil is really neutral, flavor neutral. It's a very, it has a non-taste, which is great for adding in other spicy ingredients like Rakesh mentioned, the Indian flavors and maybe some of your flavors, Jasmine, but I don't know if any of you know anything about avocado oil. And if not, fine, we can we can move on.
You know what? Avocado oil has come up the past few weeks recently because you're starting to there's some influencers and bloggers online, that act like they're doctors and scientists, but there's some interesting things going around seed oils and whatnot. So we're looking at avocado oil and olive oil, but it's just so hard to compare those two oils with sunflower oil because they have a different smell to it, and the rancidity can happen faster when you're baking at high smoke points. So sunflower oil will always be superior, I think, when it comes time to manufacturing and compared to the other oils, especially with price.
Right. That's what I was going to also mention, that avocado oil is not produced in the quantities that sunflower oil can be, refined and sold in totes and other formats. It may be something that consumers are more interested in their own homes, but yeah, I think for manufacturing, you hit it right on the head there, Jasmine. Someone has asked, is all U.S. sunflower non-GMO? John, maybe you can just explain why sunflowers are non-GMO.
Definitely all sunflower production, in the United States is non-GMO. The reason for this is that there are a lot of also wild sunflowers, and it's something that to do a GMO seed is not something that our industry has decided to pursue because we do get a lot of traits from the wild sunflowers that we incorporate into sunflower through natural breeding processes. And so we wouldn't want to lose that. And it just gives us a nice way to be in the market, you know, as far as being non-GMO, and it served us well, and I don't foresee us changing.
No, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Are there, if anyone has any more questions in our audience, please add them to the chat. And otherwise, I think, yeah, I think we're good here. So I just would like to say that it's been really, really great talking with food manufacturers from the West Coast and Central Ontario, and having John here from North Dakota. On behalf of John and myself, I really, really do want to thank Jasmine, Rakesh, and Aneta. Really, really appreciate hearing about your products and how sunflower oil is working in those products, and that, again, it seems like it's been very consistent and reliable for you over the years, and will continue to be so based on what John's told us about the oil supply. If anyone in the audience has any additional questions, you'll see that the last slide of our presentation has my name and email address. Please feel free to contact me, and if it's something specific for one of our experts, I can get in touch with them and ask the question for you. We hope that everyone enjoyed today's event and will consider using sunflower oil in their new product innovations, and also for their food service menus. Thank you, everyone.